Thomas, welcome back. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you, Dharam. So we had a good Berlin visit, you and me, but on different venues. So I was at the PMI European Summit in Berlin, 2 days. So very good. So 800 people. And you are holding a class.
Yeah, my very first session in Berlin, first time in Berlin, PFMP program. I'm very happy from the outcome, and I get to see a lot of things. In Berlin has a lot to offer, with
Yeah.
modern to the museums to the past history, the Berlin Wall,
Yeah.
church, and impact of World War II, and so many things to see. Anyway, so that trip was good. I'm happy. Let's talk about today's topic.
Okay.
And this is something very common with many, many people, project manager, program managers, managing multiple projects.
Yes.
And many times because you are not experienced handling different type of projects different at the same time, and in more complexity become you have different clients at the same time and different type of work. If one has the infrastructure, one is the IT, web base and all those kind of things. So that creates more complexity.
Yes.
So
Yes, it is. Yeah. So multiple projects, you find them in different environments. So the one environment is a program. When you are a program manager, you might not be managing all the singular projects within a program, but you are somehow in charge of them, and you know about them, and you are helping the project managers to succeed in their specific tasks. That's a totally different thing from, let's say, if you're a portfolio manager, where you oversee projects for one, let's say, division, or for a company, or for a group, and these projects might not be very related, except that they are for this division or customer and so on.
yeah,
And then we have what I call, which sometimes is the first step somebody encounters when he becomes a project manager. You are maybe in a small business, and somebody says, "Oh, by the way, we have these 10 projects over the corner, and they are for 8 different clients. Somehow make them happen," and then you look at the 10 projects and you are desperate because, they don't necessarily have something in common. Maybe it's the resources, maybe the company who is in charge of them, but and then you have a lot of different things. And the good thing is, these are also often not big projects, so they don't grant that you employ a full-time project manager for each of them. So that's when you come in the situation. So and then you have the problem that you have a lot of balls in the air. You have to jungle them, and you have not forget something, and but also you have to have a good judgment and understand what are the priorities, what you should care in the moment. And I found a lot of small, medium business are in this situation, and so some people become accidental project managers of multiple projects very often. Though that's quite a usual career path.
yeah. So and the advantage, there are two ways we can see. Oh my God, I've given different 10 projects and I don't know how to handle them. Or this is an opportunity to learn about this different technology, different domain at once, manage them effectively, and deliver the results.
Yeah.
And if you start with the stress or tension, yes, you're going to be. It's a stressful managing different client, different project, different. But if you have the right tools available with you, like nowadays there are AI-based tools or some systems available. VXTCC, which I am very, always talk about. There are tools which can help you to manage number of projects together, managing the resourcing, managing, communication, managing the reporting very effectively.
Yeah.
So that's what we have to explore.
if you are able to standardize among these projects, sometimes, if you become in charge of the projects, many of them are already running,
Yeah.
be there, and now we become in charge, and you see what you have, and you are lucky if you can standardize, let's say, in communications or in the kind of meetings you're doing, the wordings you are using. But sometimes even that is complicated, and you have this task then to make your life easier by setting some standards and also discussing with the stakeholders or with the different clients, let's say, or with the different teams to do that. But also, if you have this responsibility, you can build on probably a resource pool, and maybe you have some key resources that are also working in several of these projects. So it's not that all these projects have a separate team necessarily. And yeah, so that's a good task then to where you have some leverage, if you can select the people where they're working, if you can jungle around with the abilities, the resources you have. And yes, if you look in certifications or in standards which are supported by PMI or even by IPMA, they have a portfolio management standard, and they have a program management standard and a project management standard, but they don't have really something about which is called multi-project management standard. Maybe that's a gap in their way. But I understand, coming from Germany, the German organization, GPM, actually has such a standard. And there is even a community of praxis, a SIG, which is working on this multi-project management standard and then trying to help the project managers to give them at their hands, very easy to understand tools, because you don't need to learn a lot of things and try to apply a lot of tools and techniques in these situations, but what you need is something that makes your life simpler.
Exactly. So Thomas, let me read a question, which is supposed to be a small question, but yeah, it's a number of things in this, so I'm going to read this. So please listen carefully, and we can talk. So as we incorporate AI, artificial intelligence, into project management, it's crucial to consider the viewpoints and worries of professionals from different generations. Generation Alpha to baby boomers. How can AI can improve project management efficiency and decision making while ensuring inclusivity and collaboration across diverse generation teams?
Yes, it's certainly true for generations. You have 10 projects, and in one project there might be young people, or people from a specific gender, and another setup, and then you have some older people in another project.
Yeah,
it's not just a generational problem. It's in general, in these multi-project situations, you have a stakeholder base that is very diverse in any aspect. And you have to be really careful how you communicate and how you convey certain messages. Some just need, let's say, a small information, but others need a kind of education with it, explanation, and do that. And, AI can help you with that, because you have your project management message. So let's say, how do we do the meetings in our projects? You want to standardize that. But you can say, okay, for maybe the younger generation, for the generation that is not very much experience with projects, maybe you have a better explanation with some reasoning behind it, and AI can provide for that. If you tell AI, please provide a text that is suitable for younger generation, and then you can specify in your prompt, what you want to see. And you can also say, okay, for these, here are experienced engineers on the other projects, and what they need is less explanation, but they just want to understand, okay, how is it running in this project? Because they have done many projects before.
Yeah.
And they understand that there are different ways of handling, let's say, meetings, again, for this example. And they will understand, okay, that's the way we do it in here.
Exactly.
So I would extend the question of generations to diversity overall, because on the one hand side, maybe you have the young software developers who are programming since they are 13, doing something, and they just want to produce a nice app. On the other hand, maybe you have the engineers who know about the hardware environment, and they have been doing that for 20, 30 years, and they maybe have a degree in engineering, and they need another kind of approach of communication.
Yeah. And to address the diverse needs, if you have a good AI-based tool platform, which can handle different type of communication needs, some, as you say, some professionals, they are, very experienced, and they just want to see some information, couple of top risk, top this. So you can create a different view for those people, or can send them email. You can show them the pod, on the dashboard, or you can, if required, some places you may have some stakeholder. They are still living in the third world countries, not countries, but third world. Facts and me facts.
True. And then the one thing is to understand how to approach the communications with these different groups,
Yeah.
And you can even improve that approach by doing it in a feedback cycle. You can, with every communication, you can ask them, was this too much, or was it correctly, or are you missing something, or are you satisfied, and you get some feedback, and then you can ask AI to tweak that kind of communication. And with that, you can develop a more efficient communication style.
Exactly.
But it's not only communication. AI is able to listen to your meetings, and summarize and so. Though I've seen some meeting summaries or minutes, which are not so good, let me say. So you always have to look at that. But nevertheless, they give you a bulk of sentences and topics that were discussed, and you can work on these. So although this is interesting, so if you ask AI, okay, how much did everybody contribute, or were some people who were quiet and not contributing? So you can adapt your approach not only for communications by AI, but also by communications by yourself, if you call them or give a presentation to them or whatever.
Yeah. No, look, one thing we have been talking, AI is great support. You cannot just rely. It's like you have an executive assistant. He or she can, be your assistant. They can do a lot of things. They can give you some guidance that help you. But at the end of the day, it is your message when you're sending out to your stakeholder.
Yeah.
So they can write something, and then you have to refine as per your own style, own language. It may happen that you like the work of the AI so much, you're okay, I don't want to do much work. It's all, it's stock. After a while, AI will also learn what kind of, what is your structure of sending message or something. Just like your stenographer or your secretary, he or she can understand your way of doing things, and they adopt. But you don't rely everything what they do and how they do. You have to be in your way. Anyway, so that's another discussion point. How to use AI in different aspects.
Yeah, but I mentioned communication and the communication style because if you look at the root causes of failed projects, it's always communication barriers is one of the top points, and especially at the beginning when you're starting in this kind of multi-projects, and you have this diversity, then you have to take an approach to really understand what you are doing, and then you can avoid a lot of other problems that come way. Yeah, though if communication is clear between you and the people, but also among the people, you also increase collaboration and cooperation and trust and everything, and some people might say, okay, let's use AI for more technical things like planning or resource leveraging. Yes, can also be done, but please start with communication. That's my advice.
Exactly. Yeah. Perfect. Okay, my next question. In today's rapidly changing business landscape, project managers often oversees multiple projects simultaneously. We talked about it. Given the increasing complexity and uncertainty, what do you believe are the most critical skills and qualities that project manager need to possess to navigate those challenges effectively?
Yeah, as you said, we have a rapidly changing business landscape environment. So we perceive that complexity and uncertainty is increasing, although it is a perception of everybody. So, if I see something as complex, others who have more information, more experience, they might say, okay, no, it's easygoing. We have done it before, and it's not complex for us. So it's not in the situation itself that is complex, but it is in our heads, So we have to really understand this. And with that, I think the number one skill we have to develop is to be able to change perspectives. So once we started maybe with understanding that this is a complex understanding, we reread, we learn, we talk to people, and then it becomes less complex and it's easy for us. So we have to change this perspective. So complexity is not a given thing, it's a moving target. And we're always trying to remove complexity and make things simpler, easier to understand. It's also a part of communication, by the way, So this is skill number one. Be able to change your perspective on situations, things, on anything, And this means that you always think, okay, I see that this is my opinion, but this is not set in stone, Maybe I can change it. So skill number two that's very important is, you are project manager, so you are dealing with an uncertain future. You may have a target, but you may have an idea how to get there. But if that is reality later on, that's totally open. So you have to accept uncertainty. It's uncertain. Your life is uncertain. And it depends very much on your personal fear. So what do you fear? Maybe failure or and also the culture. What do you think your boss or your peers are looking at when they see uncertainty? So this is something. The whole world today is full of anxiety. About the Russians, about the nuclear, about global warming, so many things. But the question is, accept it. And then you don't have to have bad feelings all the time or sleep bad, whatever, It's just the case that and I told you in Berlin, we have seen this global warming, So April was almost 2 degrees hotter than ever, in the several hundred years of statistics. It's getting warmer in Germany, in Berlin. So accept this, and that's easier said than done. What are you fearing? Maybe you're afraid of spiders or snakes or whatever. Start with this, don't. Yeah, it's a spider, and if you are afraid, the point is that your brain, your thinking brain, is stopping to work, and your amygdala is sending out some hormones, and you're really anxious and everything. This should not happen. And as project managers, not only ourselves is important, but also the psychological safety of your team members, of your stakeholders, of your customers, everybody. So if they look at you and you are not afraid of anything, they feel more safe, hopefully, But if you are, let's say, doing this all the time, they don't think you are really helping them to be in a safe and trustworthy environment. So that's the second skill. First skill, change perspectives. Second skill, accept uncertainty. Third skill, be relative for value. So we are talking about the generational gap, and we perceive that the young people have different values than the older people. I don't think it's true, but we perceive it. It's one perspective, and it's a very common perspective. So try to be very open to the values of others, and make sure they are relative to your values. You don't have to accept them as yours, but you have to accept that others have other different values than you have, and avoid building up a gap and a confrontation around this. And it's even more important, generational differences are there, but there are also differences. You are working with people from different cultures, with different religious beliefs. And if you are in a global environment, then you have really to flatten out all these value peaks you have in other areas, So I had the luck, to work with a lot of cultures, like in India, like in Japan, like in Russia. And I saw what they have, and I liked it because it was interesting, And it was also interesting, and let's say it made me humble because, I'm also just one of them, And I'm nothing special, I'm though the Americans are not special, and the Israeli are not special, and the Iranians are not special. These are different people with different values. And if you have this skill of accepting other values as they are, then also you live a life of less conflicts and confrontations.
Yeah.
And
So,
the fourth skill, let me complete. I have
yeah.
4 skills. So this is the last one. And there are certainly more skills than 4, but the fourth skill is develop your resilience.
Yeah, definitely.
And well, I can go. I think we had a talk about resilience. I won't go into details, but just say, okay, change perspectives, accept uncertainty, relativism for values, and build your resilience, and then you will tackle all. You can manage multiple projects. And even multiple projects, you might have multiple value systems, because the success might be defined in different terms, Here might be is a profitable product. Here is a satisfied customer. Here is maybe a sellable, future-worthy solution, So different things that come out of your different projects might be valuable in different ways.
Yeah, no, I remember when I was working for this bank and I was managing web-based, some improvement to the website. Then I also the warehouse management, the like data warehouse, and also some infrastructure work happening. Totally different, not when we talk about program, we're talking about kind of similar work, but in this case, we're talking different type of work. So all the skills you mentioned, great. But I like to add a couple more on top of it. One is the prioritization. You should be able to work with your stakeholders to prioritize the work, because it's a changing. The environment is changing. The customer priorities are changing, and you need to work with them to make sure you understand their priorities. If they're downgrading the priority of this project, that project, and you should be able to handle that as well, because moment somebody said, no, this is not highest priority, if we don't need it at the moment, that means we have to stop the work. And maybe you've done half the work. And you have to make sure you make them remind, hey, we are stopping it now. That means whatever work we've done is going to be wasted. Or Sometimes they stop now, we'll start again in 2 months' time. So that learning, there's a lot of waste in this. I mean, of course, obviously we are doing it because the business needs, but there's the loss of skills, the learning, and then you start something new and we have to start refocus. So there's a lot of juggling required in this process.
Yeah.
And that as a project manager, you should be able to handle that. Yep, there's a change. There's something has to change. You need to convince the team as well. Very important. You are convinced, or sometimes you have to, okay, I have no other choice. Then you have to convince the team why we're stopping this project and starting new project. Because for them, they are already deep into this, they're already testing it, it's working. No, stop this. The client said no, they don't want it. They want something else.
Yeah, well, it's certainly an important skill, when you consider that with multiple projects, you might have multiple customers.
Yep.
And every one of them thinks he's very special and he is most important. And you have to develop your own. You cannot just say yes to everybody, because then you will be overwhelmed and you won't have a priority. You won't. Yeah, I find it interesting. So if you look at this company dashboards and they say, okay, we have the priority 1 projects, and normally 80% are priority 1 because everybody can say, okay, yes, mine is the most important, which is it not,
Exactly. I mean, we also have to learn how to say no. Sometimes, we cannot just say accept yes, and how to say no is important. No means not no, but let me consider, let me work it out, and let me talk to my team, and then come back to you. We can. Yeah. So this is one topic we can keep talking for hours and hours because there's so many skills, so many things we can talk about. Do you have anything last minute before we close this particular question?
No, I just came to my mind, if you look at prioritization, actually, it's one of the main tasks of project portfolio management, because you have a big pipeline of potential initiatives, and then you have to select not only, the top 10 best to put in the portfolio and to execute in the next period, but maybe, it's not the best, but it's the best, let's say, set of projects that is important to select. So prioritization has not only the task to apply criteria, but also to look at the whole scenario of projects, because maybe there is a project in that scenario that's not so important compared to others, but it's suitable. Because you also have to look at, what can you do with the available resources, Give you an example. I had once a portfolio for an organization, and everybody, the finance guys always had priority 1 because we are finance, we are providing the figures and everything. And then they had a huge team of people in HR. Yeah, and they had some projects for consideration, but they were deprioritized. So in the end, we had a list of projects with a lot of finance projects in them and no HR projects. And then we said, okay, but we have 5 people in HR. They are idle next year if you don't select at least 1 project for that. And on the other hand, if you have 8 finance projects, can they even handle it in the finance department, in terms of testing requirements and all of that? And then they rethought, okay, we have more to be balanced in this kind of portfolio, to find the priorities on the level of all of the departments, not only on finance,
Yeah. Look, this is such an important topic, and having the right skill to handle the multiple projects of different type, different client. Oh, okay. Thank you for your contribution. And I think people listening, they're probably going to, if they start putting their mindset, okay, I have to be focusing on communication, building my leadership skills, and building my, collaboration skills. Now, in the newer version of SPM, Standard for Program Management, they have added one more domain called collaboration. because they know, PMI know, collaboration is such an important skill to have. Collaborating with your customer, collaborating with stakeholder, collaborating with your project managers and all that. Okay, so next question I have is, with project failures and scope creep prevalent, especially in managing multiple projects, what do you think is the root cause behind these challenges? And how can a project manager or project managers proactively address them to ensure project success?
Again, multiple perspectives. So everybody says project failures are failures, is negative. And scope creep is negative because, something comes in we haven't predicted. But, why should they be really bad, Maybe it's just the normal way of like things are, and we have to handle them.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the same thing, when we see a project and project managers are adverse to accepting change. No, change can be good for the end product, and that's one of your tasks, not just to execute some predictions you made in an initial plan, but really to understand that some ideas just come up during the project, and you have to handle that. So I think the root cause of these, as you say, challenges, are that we are too inflexible with our views on success. Is success really when we deliver towards a plan that has been made 2 years ago? Or is success something that people look at and say, yes, that's a big value we have now, but we incorporated some ideas that came to us during the process, of the project. So famous example again, is this Sydney Opera House. It was certainly a failure at this time. So people were fired for being such bad project managers and everything. But now it's a huge success. And the success is not only related to money, but also to, let's say, national pride, of this
Yeah.
kind of feelings of the people, of many people, many stakeholders. So if you ask the public now if it was a bad project, I don't think they would say so. They would say it's a huge success for us, for Sydney, for Australia, and for the world even, but it was a failure. And there are unluckily a lot of researchers and a lot of, even within PMI, if you look at that, are still very rationally thinking. So they say, okay, we create a charter and a plan and a business case up front, and then it's set in stone. We don't want to change it. So that's scope creep, yeah. And but then they neglect that we can learn over time, and that's the journey of a project, that we learn something, that we understand better what is valuable, and then we might have something totally different. So if somebody asked me to build a boat to go over that mountain, I would say, is that the right thing to do? But okay, it's a scope, and maybe over time we find out we don't need a boat, but maybe something else to go over the mountain, And so if I look at the literature, or what is success, there is among scholars, among professors and everything, quite a dispute what success is. So it's not set in stone. And maybe it's set in stone if you look at the PMBOK guide and other things, but goal setting and timing plays a role in the definition of success. I would even say, success is not necessarily even something fixed, but it's something evolving, floating, and find out what is important during the project. So that's my way. By the way, if you want to read more about that, there is a famous scholar who died some years ago, but nevertheless, Hirschman. So he wrote about what he called my hiding hand, So in the beginning of the project, you are hiding what you are doing, because the purpose of the first encounter with the steering committee and acknowledging that there's a project is the business case.
Yeah.
And as many people know, in government and elsewhere, a big project, the business case is always a lie, and its purpose is to get approval to start, and then we will see.
Yeah. So, Thomas, definition of failure, success, one thing, and scope creep is another thing. What we call, what should we don't we call? But if we look from the managing multiple projects and how do you handle them? Otherwise, let's say simple definition of failure is you are within budget or not in budget, or within the time frame or not in time frame, or did you deliver the benefits or not? Then we can put in that way. Now there is if you're trying to manage multiple projects, if you're not managing them effectively, efficiently, the chance of failure, one or many of them, is much higher, because same resources, same person, and using 10 different projects. And if you do not handle them effectively, if you're not a good juggler, you will definitely going to fail. Okay. Yeah. So that's the kind of thing we're talking. And to address how this person as a project manager can be a better juggler. Now, of course, you practice, eventually you can become with 3 balls, 5 balls, 10 balls. I've seen, if you go to circles, you see 15 balls they're juggling. I don't know how they do, but they're doing it somehow. And that's how the skills. So in order to make your project more, improving chance of success, I think, of course, communication and resource allocation and, managing the scope very effectively. If somebody want to change the scope, follow the change control process, and so that we avoid the scope creep, and we still deliver. You may not deliver all the projects successfully, but some of the projects you may have 1 or 2 failures, but you can minimize those as much as you can. And another thing I can think of, learning from your past, the lesson learned. What project you did, what happened, why did that project was not considered successful, and what you could have done, or what you're going to do in the next project or next future projects. So some of these learning can definitely make a project manager more successful when dealing with multiple interdependent or not dependent projects more effectively.
Yes, it's all important points what you say,
Yeah.
Let me add another perspective on you are handling these 10 projects, and you're thinking about failure and success. Maybe killing one of these 10 projects might be very beneficial to the other 9. And maybe, I will always say, if you look at the portfolio of projects, and in some companies, no project is killed ever.
Yeah.
So, but I think, that is really detrimental to the overall success of the organization. So, I know killing a project is maybe not so good for your reputation. But on the other hand, if you say, okay, let's stop this or delay it or kill it, and then the others run better, I think that's a rational decision.
Yeah, but the thing is that all these 10 projects, all these projects are number 1 priority for all the stakeholders or sponsor. Which project you're going to kill? And all of them are important client for you. Of course, there are, you're going to apply some strategy. Okay, this is, strategically more important for organization. And this is, of course, is internal report, which can wait for some more time. This is a dashboard kind of thing. Yes, important, but let's focus. We can start again. So you need to see based on benefit cost analysis, or the strategic importance or risk involved, and the resource required. Do you have the resources? Not having resources. Many things you can consider in prioritization for those projects.
Well, I was working for IBM for different divisions, and one division I worked for was outsourcing. And I actually, in outsourcing, you invest a lot of in doing the proposal, and maybe you have 1 year, 1.5 years to negotiate about that, because it's a huge invest from the client too, not only from the company. And
Exactly.
I saw that IBM is very restrictive on looking at these investments, and I even saw projects killed. Once we started, we had even a contract, and then after some time, we found out the contract is really not developing as we thought. In the business case, in the cost case, and then these projects were killed, which was that we canceled the contract somehow. There are
Yeah.
provisions and so on. So I really think it's difficult, but it's important that if you have multiple projects, that they are able to select the least important or the most disturbing projects and say, okay, let's get them off the list.
And it's the art of, you as a project manager, you should have done your homework. And when you're talking to your counterpart in the client side, because for them everything is important. Now you should be able to give them the reason why we should focus more on number one, two, three, four, and let's put some less weight to the remaining 5 projects. And there should be some justification, pros and cons, because for them they want everything now, because they feel that let's get everything done. But you as the project manager, you need to go back with the full knowledge, understanding, and justification why not, and convince them why this four project important to you. Let's focus on that. Let's get them out. Then we focus on the remaining 4, and so and so. And
yeah.
Okay, moving to the next question. How can investing in skilled project managers and leveraging technology optimize project investment and drive more value to the organization?
Okay, I understand. We are talking about the value to our own organization, not the value to customers, not the value that are
Oh,
provided by projects to customers,
yeah,
probably. And yeah, so when I look back at IBM, what IBM did, and I was part of that thing, they built a very clear career path to create people, employees that can help them succeed in future business, in future projects. So career paths are, if you look at organizational value, they are very important, because you cannot only run such a project business only with external resources. Okay, you can hire somebody for a specific task, but
yeah,
if you want to be successful over some years, build
yeah.
up something, a reputation, but also build up a pool of good project managers, you have to establish a career path. And this career path helps you in a lot of ways, like create loyalty to the company, have a goal in your life, because the career path in project management is often spanning decades, So, yeah, small projects, bigger projects, programs, portfolios, PMOs, whatever, you can go this path. And you have to build on in this career path permanent training, continuous learning.
Continue.
So, and it's when I know years when I was 3-4 weeks on external trainings, maybe that's not the case today anymore, but no, good people, I think, are always sent to trainings and to conferences, and there's certifications, IBM had internal certifications, but also relied on certifications of PMI, like the PMP or pgmp, and then if you have loyalty and a goal and a setting
Yeah,
and training, you also build experience, and this experience is you mentioned lessons learned before, learning from past projects, but where is that knowledge? Maybe it's in a database, but for certain it's in the heads of your loyal project managers, which has a career and stay with you over time. And there is even knowledge that cannot be documented, tested
yeah.
knowledge.
That's
Yeah.
it.
And how do you convey or reuse tested knowledge? It's by maybe mentoring programs or peer reviews or this kind of stuff,
Mm.
And for that, you need to build a internal network of people. And the network of project managers within IBM was more than 40,000 people globally, which is an impressive number. But even, I saw less big organizations and maybe not as mature as IBM was, than in project management, then maybe you have 20, 30 project managers, which is a good way to start with a small community. Everybody knows everybody, and this mentoring and peer support can help very much. So this is, what the value for an organization is. It's in the heads of the project managers, which you develop, which you invest in, and then you can reap the benefits because they just deliver good projects.
Exactly. I mean, it's very important, for any organization to invest in skill development. If you're lucky, you get right people, and they are day one, they are performing excellent. That's what anybody's dream. I hire a person, next day he's onto the job and performing exceptionally well. But such resources can be very costly, and also you need a luck as well. And of course, some skill required, all this. But you as a project manager, a company or a project manager, you have to invest into your skills development all the time. You cannot say, hey, I'm an engineer now, I don't want to learn. I'm a project PMP now, I don't want to learn. What else can I do to make myself more marketable, more resilient, more ready for the change, and do this project program more efficiently, more effectively, engaging with my stakeholders, developing their governance structure, delivering the benefit from organization more effectively. So the organizations should have a portion of budget for for training, and internal training, some web-based training, some maybe physical training and boot camps. Send them to physical events where people learn by collaboration, and run some hypothetical programs by case studies or something. So being part of the as a trainer myself, as a PMP, pgmp and all those, I can tell you what's the difference between unskilled or untrained project manager versus a skilled or certified PMP or project pgmp, pfmp is huge. It's not just a certificate. I have a certificate. No, the learning, the mindset has changed.
Yeah.
So these people, when they are skilled, they know how to handle various type of project program. They can make or break your projects, and that's where the value organization is going to receive from the skilled and trained project managers, and utilizing the technology, available technology. Given that we are talking about AI-based technology, PPM tools and all of the different type of tools, skill plus technology will definitely change the way you're doing the projects.
Definitely, yeah. And every individual going into certifications and having this pain of learning for it, and the uncertainty of not knowing if you pass the exam, this builds some self-confidence, and okay, all of this, and maybe you learn about 100% of tools and techniques and everything, and you might only use 20% of that. Is it bad? No, because you have a huge portfolio of options, and you select what of them are you using in a particular project, and you have then more options than you can use. And give an example, when I prepared for the PMP in I think 96, 97, so I learned about earned value, which I didn't know before. And I was at the same time running a PMO in an organization. So we implemented earned value that in this organization. With results, So it gave more transparency, and it gave more even it improved planning, because if you don't plan well, earned value is not very useful in the end, So it's about the people that are managing projects, that you make self-confident, that you make them competent, and make them able to select from the wealth of project management methods and concepts that are out there to use them in the projects.
Yeah, yeah. So look, the conclusion is, and the training is not a optional. As an organization, as a person, we have to invest in training, keep learning with the new technology coming everywhere, AI-based, money, ML, and many other technologies are there. Should we not learn about them? Cloud technology or and Bitcoin, or I just said Bitcoin, but there's so many technologies coming. As a project manager, you have to at least understand them, because when you work with the technical people, you should be able to interact with them more effectively, more efficiently. Yeah. So Thomas, my next question is, can you provide insight into how project and program managers should adapt their leadership style when overseeing multiple initiatives?
Well, yeah. If you have multiple projects, you have multiple, let's say, clients, and stakeholders and sponsors, and they might need different approaches. As we talked about communication, you might want to align it and to standardize it, but nevertheless, these are other different humans, and you have to use maybe different leadership styles. Some of them need a lot of guidance and a lot of, they really want to let you steer the thing, and give kind of orders even, to be very directive. Others say, okay, leave me alone. I want to do my stuff, and you have to support them. That is even, I find the second way more interesting, because, it forces you to listen a lot, to see what's happening and to understand what they are thinking, and then gradually maybe help them with to close some gaps they might not even see themselves. But it is like that, leadership styles in a very diverse environment must be diverse themselves. And that's the point. So if you just learn about kumbaya in leadership, you will not be able to lead multiple projects, because the people will come and request it. I myself experienced that, I try to not to have a laissez-faire, but to I have a team, and they should bring in their capabilities. And sometimes it's especially when maybe I shouldn't say that, but I work with Indian teams, and they always looked for direct orders, and so how can you do that? So actually, I went down to Pune, and they learned who I am and how I act, and then they could adapt to that for that time. This was very important, but it is also a cultural thing. You have to be very aware of the cultures, and that makes this job interesting, and not so much if it's agile or waterful or techniques. It's more, what are the differences of people, how they comprehend and how they can act. So currently, I must say, I'm very much interested in how the Chinese are doing projects, because if you look, building a hospital in 3 days, I haven't seen that in Germany or in the US.
Anywhere in the world.
Anywhere else. And they are building skyscrapers and railways and everything. So I want to understand what are they doing differently, and how are they doing that? And I think this knowledge, if it is somehow transported to the Western thinking, can enrich the overall global project management practice.
Yeah. Every project is different, and the client's expectations are different. And that's where your leadership style can vary when you're engaging with different, stakeholders, sponsor, whether collaborative or they need direction, they're totally dependent on you, or you are dependent on them. According to your leadership style change, so that we can adopt and do the best for the project and for that particular client.
Yeah.
So Thomas, the discussion we had today is very interesting. and a lot to discuss on this particular topic. And I may have to we have to talk again. But for the time being, we have talked about different types of skills, leadership skill, communication skills, many things. So project managers, guys, keep learning and improve yourself. Whatever you can do to make yourself more valuable, more marketable, and handle the projects more effectively, more efficiently.
And I can just add, you're not alone on the world. There are a lot of project managers and a lot of experienced project managers, and try to get connected. Get a mentor and develop yourself, and don't try to do it all yourself in your quiet chamber. Go out, go to conferences, go to PMI chapter meetings, and get a mentor.
Exactly. Mentor who has gone through this path many times with other people, help and add value to you. Definitely. There are people, Thomas is one of them. I can be one of them. Reach out to us and let us add value to your life, and let us help you to manage how to handle your complex multiple projects, and we'll do together. All right. So Thomas, thank you once again. And I will see you again and with another topic and interesting discussion. So till that time, thank you and see you later.
Thank you, Dharam, for organizing these. And thank you all for listening.
Great. Thank you, guys. Bye.